2024, time 12:04. And let's see here. Verify quorum of board. We have all five members. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And let's look at the proof of notice. We did put up on the front notice board proof of this meeting, and also on the clubhouse notice board and the website Dwelling Live. Okay. There is no item for old business, so we're just going to move on to new business. And this meeting was called by two board members, which is Gary Johnson and Greg Heaton. So I'm going to ask, based on the agenda guideline here, modifying organization of the board, including assigned responsibilities, duties, and offices in order to streamline meetings, discussions, correspondence, and activities necessary for the smooth and efficient operation of the Western Bay Community Association. So that's the first item on the new business board. Can Gary or Ken, can you start this discussion here, please?
Carl, I think we're going to allow the community, if anybody would like to speak on an agenda item, for 3 minutes before the board starts to discuss.
Sure.
Are there any homeowners that would like to speak on any agenda items? You can send me a chat or you can raise your hand.
Anyone? 3 minutes.
No.
Is somebody trying to say something?
Sounded like it.
Sounded like it.
No, just joined the meeting.
Oh, okay. I can go ahead and mute you on my end. All right, it doesn't look like we have any homeowners that would like to speak on the first agenda item. So, Greg, you may proceed.
Okay, so the agenda item describes the nature of the things that are in the first item to discuss here. So that has to do with responsibilities, duties, and offices of the board. And we're looking at ways to streamline meetings, discussions, correspondence, and activities. So does anyone have an input to that effect?
Yes, I do. And in accord with Section 8, Article 8.4 of the bylaws, any officer may be removed from office with or without cause, and I would like to make a motion that Warren be removed as vice president.
With or without cause?
Without cause.
Okay. Anybody want to second that? I'll second it.
All in favor? Anyone else?
All in favor? Aye.
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 I'm in that. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Well, so we have 4 board members. You got that, Natalie?
Yes.
You got. How about the nays?
Yep, I got everybody. I have an aye from Gary, an aye from Ken, an aye from Greg, and an aye from Carl.
But we gotta ask for the nays. Who's got the nays? You gotta unmute Warren so he can say a nay or something.
Warren shouldn't be muted.
He's showing muted on my screen.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna ask to unmute because you should be able to mute it on your end.
Hello.
There you go.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there you
You got
go.
it now, Warren.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
I vote nay, and I'd like to know the reason for the hello. Hello.
One sec. Can everybody please mute, please? All right, I muted him. Sorry, Warren, go ahead.
I said I vote nay, and I'd like to know the reason for the removal. You were talking about communications.
There is no reason. It was without cause.
Okay, well, it's without cause. Let me say something about communications. And basically, I believe that since September of 2022, there's been an effort, certainly by you, Gary, you, Greg, and the senior leadership of the board. When I was a resident, I've had communication with the board. And back in September of 2022, I started with the issue dealing with the violations that the board had for the fire codes. You'll recall that I communicated effectively with the board for about 5 or 6 months. And basically the board said that through their attorney, you said you were in compliance. Although I provided the law showing that you were not in compliance. And at a meeting, you certainly expressed hostility and rudeness that the matter was resolved. I subsequently called the fire marshal. It was determined that we were not in compliance and that the association had to get in compliance. There was a subsequent interaction with you and the board, actually through the ARC, where I wanted to remove some trees. And you said that I needed to comply with some law that I corrected you and said had been changed for 2.5 years. The third instance was my request for the retractable screen, where I then also showed that the board had people on the ARC committee that were board members, and when I appealed that decision, that it should not have people on the ARC as well as the board. And even the attorney for the board has said that the ARC should be restructured. Now, personally, I believe once I came on board as a board member, I've been asking difficult questions that certainly individuals on the board don't want to answer, such as why you have such a glowing testimonial on the website for the board attorney. Other things like why are we spending the board's money to repair the guard gate, $30,000, when it should have been done through insurance and file an insurance claim, and now come up with having a suit. I believe that certainly under your prior leadership as the vice president and the senior leadership at the time, there has been animosity towards me when I was a resident. And now that I'm on the board and asking difficult questions that residents aren't able to answer, you are unwilling to provide the answers or give me access to the information. And that's what I believe this entire meeting is about. Certainly, when the residents voted, you were not voted on to the board. It was Carl and I that received the highest amounts of votes. And again, there, where we appointed people, I was against that process. Certainly when we used one of the 2 board attorneys that we had, the board attorney indicated that we should have a re-election, and that was what I was supporting. But we waited until there was a ruling from the other attorney that said, no, we can go ahead and continue to pick. So I believe that because of the style with which you operated when you were in a leadership role, your belligerence, your rudeness, your attitude towards residents, you have the same attitude towards me now that I'm on the board and I'm asking you the questions that you refuse to answer. I think this is a farce. Even a blind person could see that I'm being railroaded. But certainly, as I brought up, when you and Gary issued this document, that although the bylaws said only 2 people were necessary, I said that it was probably written at a time when there were only 3 people on the board and 2 constituted a majority. So certainly, the opinion that was rendered said no, that's correct, and it can be 2, although there are 5 people on the board. Certainly, I believe that what is being done is a matter to silence me. It's a matter of to have non-transparency. We're having this meeting at a time when people are at work. It's a day for elections, but ultimately, from the vote that was just cast, it seems like I think I heard 4 because I was having difficulty getting in. Was the vote 4 yes?
Yes, the vote was 4 in favor.
4 in favor. Okay. So, like I said, I believe that even a blind man can see what's going on here. But if that vote stands, I've expressed my opinion, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I have no comment. Carl, do you have a comment?
I didn't hear that.
Did you hear what Warren said?
Yes, I did hear what
Yeah.
Warren said.
So I said I have no comment. Do you have a comment?
At this time, I don't have any comment.
Okay, Gary, do you have a comment?
No further comment. It's certainly not a means of silencing anybody on the board, not at all. And that's all I'll say.
Ken, you got anything? Got on mute, Ken. There you go.
Yeah, I don't have any further comment.
Okay. So let's move on to the agenda items, the rest of the agenda items, or the rest of that item. What we're looking for is ways to improve the functioning of the board. So one of the things that has happened in the last few months is that the association manager has been having to spend an awful lot of time on actions that detract from the smooth operation of the board as a result of inputs that have been made. So what I would like to propose is that communication with the manager be limited to officers and to the responsibilities that they have assigned to them. And so I'd like to throw that out as a motion.
I'll second that.
I'd like some discussion on that.
Okay, well, it's been seconded, so let's have a discussion.
I thought the president already threw out on July the 1st a document indicating that he was communicating directly with the management company. As a matter of fact, I thought I saw something where you communicated directly with them, and he referenced that memo.
That's correct. I was chastised for that, and I admitted it and apologized.
So why is there an issue? I think the issue came up, as far as I know, when I started asking questions, and every question that I had asked, I either coordinated it with the president or he was emailed. Because when I came on board, there was no effort to bring me up to speed with issues. I asked for numerous things, not only as a board member, that I still have not received, such as committees, who's on the committees, the purpose of the committees, and so forth. And when I had those communications, I had them with the president. He was aware that I was asking the management team, and as a result, he implemented that July 1st communication that said all of us needed to go through management, through him, to go to the management company. So why is there a problem, since you were the only one that seemed to have disregarded that?
This would be a change to that.
I have a circumstance where, as treasurer, I need to communicate with a management company over invoicing, coding of invoices. I have been talking with Yasmin at Leland Management for many years concerning budget items, concerning financial items, accounting items, and so forth. So I have been communicating with Yasmin. I have CC'd Carl on all of those items, but there is a definite, the treasurer needs to communicate directly with the management company.
And the questions I was communicating with the management company were questions that I was asking to be brought up to speed that you guys didn't really want me to know the answers to.
What issues you're talking about?
Go ahead and change what you want to change.
Okay, any other discussion?
No, I think
Well-
it would be helpful if maybe if Warren could put out a list of what things what the things are that he is missing.
Is this open for residential discussions, Steve Wetzel?
No, the discussion was for residents was before we started.
Right, but we didn't know what the issues were. We just said change of officers or something.
It's on the agenda.
No.
Right, but we didn't know what change of officers was. Okay, thank you. Mute me. Because we go to the management, association management. We were told to go to the association management. I volunteered for committees back in July. And I was told to send those recommendations to the management. And I did, and I got a response this morning because I assume because this meeting was going. But it's been like 6 weeks. When you ask for volunteers, we volunteer at the meetings and then we don't get responses.
Okay, well, that's a new issue. We'll address that in a minute.
What is your name, sir?
Steve Wetzel.
Oh, okay, because I did respond to you, Steve, the
You
day
did,
that you
yes,
emailed
ma'am, you
me.
did.
Okay, so
You
let's
responded from the
try to be
July
clear, Steve. I
You
responded to
from the
you.
July 8th
Absolutely.
email that you had
It's-
sent to Gary asking if I could be
Actually-
on the committee.
Actually, it's Greg. So, Steve,
Greg, yes.
let's say things the right way and let's say them with clarification. You emailed management on July 8th and you did receive a response on July 8th immediately after you emailed.
Right,
I
you said you sent it to
responded to
Greg.
you. I responded to you and I copied the landscape committee on it. They
Right.
are still working on figuring out how to bring in another volunteer onto the landscape
How have we
committee.
done it up until
So
now?
you were responded to, and then I
I was
responded to
responded
you
to. You said
again,
you-
right?
You said that
And
you
then
had
I
sent it to Greg
responded to
on
you
Steve.
again
July 9th.
this morning.
Break.
So
Steve,
that's-
you're on the
I was
committee.
responded from Greg on today.
right,
You're on
and
the
Greg
committee.
told you you're on the committee. So
No, he did
what
not.
else? He didn't. Okay.
That was July 9th when you sent that to Greg, and I assume because of this meeting going today is why he responded. But
No, he
No, I
responded
responded
because
'cause you
they've
sent
been
something to
working
me
on
today.
it.
You sent something to me and
because
said I
I
haven't heard from
followed
you,
up
and
and said I did not get a response. Because I followed up and said, hey, I'm waiting for a response from the landscape committee. Can I join? I offered to join the landscape committee and the art committee on July 8th. And I
And
have
what did
no
I say?
response from the art yet.
what did I say, Steve?
You did respond.
Today,
received the
You said you'll get a
response.
hold of me within 2 weeks. I've asked, on that day, I also asked, who are the other members of this committee? You said there were 6 at that board meeting. You said you would get back to me at that board meeting with the members of the committee, and I still, to date, don't know who's on that committee.
Well, why is it important for you to know who's on the committee?
I can offer assistance. I don't have to be on a committee. I can still help as a resident,
Right. So what does that have to do with other people on the committee?
so I can communicate with them.
Well, you're on the committee. You're gonna be at our next meeting. So what else? What's the issue?
The issue is, why does it take 6 weeks to find out that I'm on a committee and it comes out, just so happens to come out the day of we're having a board meeting?
The reason I responded to you today is you sent me an email, so I responded.
I did.
The reason I didn't respond before is simply that I was too busy reading lots of literature and inputs that were made by other members of the board that took a lot of time to I only have a limited amount of time to put into all this stuff. And that
Right,
got
that's
used
why
up
you
by
should have
a
committees to help
non-productive
you out with this
activity.
stuff.
So
That's what we're trying to do, help you out as committees. But
Right.
the reason you responded was because I did ping you because it had been 6 weeks, and I said, "What's the holdup?" do you really want help?
You
And I said, yes.
could have pinged me after a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Now you waited for 6 weeks and I responded immediately, and now you're complaining it was 6 weeks. So
Why
enough.
should I have to follow up at all, Gary, Greg? Why should I have to follow up at all?
I explained to you why.
Let's move on forward, please. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
May I ask, this is Bill Crawford. May I ask a question, clarification of what is being proposed here, and then also make a suggestion?
Well, this part of the discussion is for the members of the board.
Okay.
So,
Silence.
No, well, actually,
So
we opened it up for the entire community before the meeting started so that everybody could speak. The agenda items were pretty clear. And we waited and nobody spoke up. So that's why we're continuing the board meeting now, so the board can continue their business. If there's time at the end, the board can decide if they would like to open it back up for an open
I don't
forum.
think we knew that you're going to remove the member that we all voted in.
Yeah, the agenda item just said
Nope.
restructuring.
Warren has not been removed from the board, just so that there's
Remove him from his
clarification.
position.
Yeah, remove him from, the board gives the position of vice president, not the membership. The membership voted him in as a director, and he is still a director. The board can organize and reorganize how they see fit and what would, what helps the progress of the board. The positions are a board decision, not a membership decision.
Well, one of the things that we also talked about, and that is related to Steve's issue too, is that we want to establish action items, and so that the board members that indicate they'll do something, they don't forget about it, and that it doesn't get pigeonholed, so we can have action items for each board member as far as what their obligations are and what they've committed to do in a board meeting or in conversations, so that things like appointments to these committees and that they get acted on expeditiously, is rather than maybe take a little too long. So
exactly.
those are some of the things that we want to streamline and make happen, make the board function better.
So Steve's point is, it goes exactly to that. So we
Sure,
need
a charter would address all those.
So we need a better system to track our action items and hold ourselves accountable for following through. So
That's what I've been trying to get you to do. And every
Thank
time
you.
I suggest things like that, it's come with resistance. From the time I
So
came on board in June, I submitted to the president several charters, and you brought up a motion that was seconded not to do any charter for the ARC. And it was only until they found out that the charters that I had submitted to the president had come to me from the management team that anybody took any interest. The management team had been trying to get charters implemented by the board even before I became a board member.
Warren, this is not about charters, it's about action items.
I'm sorry? You're speaking about action items. That ties into action items because...
Well, everything ties into action items, so...
Well, look, go ahead.
So what I want to do is, we have a motion on the table that says that only officers can contact the manager directly on matters within their assigned responsibilities. We have a second. We've had discussion. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Abstain.
Okay, so there's 4 ayes and an abstention. So that's adopted. Okay, the second item is we've touched on is better tracking of action items. I know it applies to me. Things fall through the crack on me. The busier I get, the more things I have going on, the less able I am to keep track of them and get them done. So I'm asking for a system that the manager implements, or that if we find some other tool we can use to do that. But bottom line is, I'd like to have a system where I can look exactly at what action items I have open and when they're due and what their status is, and be reminded about them 2 weeks before the board meeting. Any discussion of that?
Is that a motion?
What?
Yeah.
I think, Natalie, is it, are you able to, I know there's different softwares out there. Is there a software available that you can, do I used to use one myself a long time ago. Can't remember the name of it, but where it pings everybody on action items to be done.
Yes.
I would have, I would have to look into it, but I think Carl already has something in mind.
Yeah, there are a lot of software out there, web-based application that we can use to track our, items, to see what's working on and what's completed. So I believe this is a great idea because since I'm on board here, I can realize and see where some items get dropped off, not purposely, but just because of other new business keep coming at us, and we sometimes can lose focus on these things. So it's a good idea. I'm with it, and I will definitely search a software, which I know a few of them. I'm going to see which one we can start using, like maybe a free one or something like that, so it doesn't impact the HOA in any way. So I'm agreeing with that, and I will definitely take up that as a responsibility to research.
Okay, so you got the handle on that, but we gotta approve it. So we have a second on that motion?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is that 4 or 5 ayes?
4. I abstain because I brought this up before when I brought it up again.
Okay.
From the first meeting when there was a lot of items missing that I brought up, there was always an explanation as far as why it was missing. So now we're going to act on it. And again, that's something that I brought up from the first meeting.
Okay, thank you. 4 ayes and an abstention then. All right. I have another item unless someone else has one.
Okay, go ahead.
I think in the interest of efficiency and time, correspondence should be, should have what I call a high fact to word ratio. In other words, say it in a couple of paragraphs and that's it. We don't need to have these 2 and 3 page emails and memos and whatnot.
You don't read them anyway.
I got a question. Discussion?
I read every one of them, and it's very time consuming, having 3 and 4 and 5, 6 page emails to go over subjects that have been settled for years.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, Warren, I did talk to you regarding that too, because it takes a lot out of my time and we ask that you just bulletproof stuff and send it to me on a high level, and this way we can deal with it. But yes, they do takes time to go through this, especially when you have other appointments and things to take care of. We can't sit and spend a lot of time just in a long email when we can just get to the point, bulletproof the points, and move on. That definitely can take time from everyone, not just me, but I think that we need to streamline those kind of correspondence.
Okay, so in summary, go ahead. Who is that?
What is that?
Somebody else started to talk and I jumped in, sorry. Oh. Somebody else has something else to say? Okay, so just to summarize, the motion is that all correspondence among the directors should be on a single topic with no more than 2 paragraphs.
I second that.
All in favor?
Wait a minute. Make no offense. What I'm saying, if there's going to be something dragged out and long and need big discussion, then I think that can be an agenda item, so it can be discussed.
Correct.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's four
Aye.
ayes.
Abstain.
Aye.
4 ayes and an abstention. Okay. Another thing that I have on my list is I think we need better tracking and presentation of violations. We on the board get a report prior to the meeting, not a report, but what's called a meeting packet, and it has over 300 violations listed in somewhat random order, maybe by address or something like that. It's too much to try to take in. We need some sort of method to assign a priority or a, something.
I can have that changed right away, Greg. The report that I print out for you guys is our report straight from Caliber, which is the software that we use. But what I can do to simplify it so that it's more readable, is I can have it inputted into an Excel spreadsheet, and that way you're just reading off. Basically, you'll read off the addresses, and I can do it from. It doesn't have to be by address. It can be by like most recent violation.
Can you sort it by Can you sort it by like violations since the last board meeting? Violations that are.
I can do that. Yeah. What I do is all the 300. There is close to 300 right now. Those are all open. None of them are past due. Those are all open and are on different stages.
Right.
What I can do, if you want, if that's how the board wants me to do it, is when we give out the packet once a month, is I can do it where you'll only get notification of the new violations that were opened, as opposed to the ones that are being advanced to different stages. And then that would cut down the report. But then you wouldn't
would be
see.
Good. Maybe this new violations that are opened and maybe violations that are on the verge of, I don't know, what's the critical
legal,
step? Sent to the attorney.
Legal. Yeah.
Violations that are about to be sent to the attorney or something like that.
I can do that. And I can also, like I said, put it in an Excel spreadsheet. It's a lot easier to read that way. You don't have all the fluff. And then that way it's just easy for you guys to read. And then if you have questions on pending violations, ones that are, from a couple months ago that are on a second or third notice, you can always just ask me and I can give you an update on them since they won't be in the packet.
That's okay with me. What does the rest of the board think?
Yeah, Natalie, are the violations, can they be listed by category, or is there a category of violation? I mean, the different, so that they can be summarized by category?
So I can only sort them one way. So you guys tell me how you want to sort them. I can either do it by the most recent. Well, if we're going to do just the ones that we did on that month's inspection, so you don't have to sort it by time, then yes, I could sort it by specific violation. So you'll have like all the trash cans in one. You'll have landscaping on the next section. You'll have would that be better?
Yeah, I think that's helpful. As far as
I can sort them that way. Yeah.
As far as the severity of the violation, I guess you might say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can, it only works. I can basically go into the system and just hit sort. I could sort by date, sort by address, which is how I've always done it, sort by address, sort by date, sort by address, and sort by violation type, meaning landscaping, trash cans, tree trimming, whatever. Or I can search by what notice they are on. Basically, if they are on, legal warnings, those will be first, and then final notices. But since I'm only going to be pulling the new violations that were sent for that monthly inspection, there won't be any severity to sort them. It'll all be friendly reminders. Does that make sense?
So that's an action item that you're taking that can be one of the first things you put on your action item tracking system.
Yeah. Because this is one of my concerns. We have over 650 homes, and if we have the 300 violations, it's how much? 613.
613.
Okay, so that means we pretty much half of the the community is having violation. So I think
Tom, Mr. Ogle, can you please mute? I don't want to mute you because then you won't be able to unmute. Mr. Ogle, can you please mute?
Yes, give me a second.
Thank you. Sorry, I was getting a lot of feedback there.
oh, okay. So what I'm saying here is that we have 613 homes in the community, and we have close to 300 violations, and it's keep growing. So what I think we need to put in place is something, a method or a way to keep chipping away those violations so they can reduce instead of keep growing. Because the outcome in a few more years, we might be having 400 violations. The process might be just too long. And we probably need to look into this a little bit more careful to see how we can reduce those violations. Because the more we reduce the violation, the better the neighbor would be looking. That's my take.
I'm willing to take an action on that to work with Natalie to figure out a way to reduce the time lag and get those moving faster.
Well, there would be, what we can do for that is update the current covenant enforcement policy that you guys have in place, which calls for, first, second, third, fourth notice, legal, So what you can do is kind of streamline that covenant enforcement policy. And Greg, we can work on that and present to the board at the next meeting or the meeting after. And basically the board would just approve the new policy and then it would be put into place.
Okay, I'll work with you on that. So
okay,
put that down as an action item for me, please.
I have an issue we need to bring up.
Go ahead.
Since we do not have a vice president position, I feel that we need to. I'd like to nominate Greg Keithler to be the vice president at this time.
No. I would second that.
Okay.
Don't do it.
We have a motion for me to be the vice president. It's been seconded. Any discussion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have 2 seconds. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
4 ayes.
I oppose.
And 1 nay by Warren.
I oppose.
Warren opposed. Okay. Let's see. The next thing I have on my list, unless somebody else wants to bring something up, is meeting conduct. What I propose is that, given the unreliability that has been demonstrated over time and of late of the network at the clubhouse, for the foreseeable future, I'd like to go ahead and continue to have these meetings on Zoom.
No.
Okay, so anybody? I'm making a motion to that effect. Is there a second?
I would second it until we get the internet fixed at the clubhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to try it, but and to see what kind of. I think we probably might get more homeowners to tend.
Yeah, we got a lot today.
Huh?
We got a lot today. You got a lot of people joining today.
Okay, so I think
we typically will always see more attendance when it's on Zoom.
because you got people at work that work late or in the evening shift, and they can't attend the HOA meetings. And I think they can take a break and look at their phone or whatever and hear what's going on as well. So it might be a plus. I'm open to try it.
Yeah, I would second it. I would second it for let's try it and see if it works. We certainly have an issue right now with the internet down there, so let's try it for the next couple board meetings and see what kind of participation we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any comments, Ken?
I kind of agree with Gary. I think we should try it and see what happens and see if the membership picks up, the residents pick up on it, and we can try it as long as we have the good internet. Maybe we can try something different then. But when we've had problems with the internet at the clubhouse ever since.
Even when it's working, half the time it doesn't work. So
correct.
Oh. Okay, Warren, you got any comments?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
You will recall that we did that during the COVID.
I thought it worked during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's make a let's see. I think I made a motion to that. Is there a second?
And I seconded it. So
okay, so we just need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And I think that's everybody. So well, let me ask for the nays. Is there a nay?
No.
Okay, so we're good to go. 5-0 on that one. So at least for a couple months, we'll revisit it maybe after the second meeting from now, or after the next two meetings. At the end of the second meeting from now, we'll talk about whether we want to continue that or not.
And my back thanks you all too. My back. I have a very bad back, so it thanks you.
Okay, and so go ahead.
I'm saying something. I think if we see a number of participation from the resident joining in compared to what we have in the clubhouse based on their time, people have families and stuff like that at home, kids to take care of. I think it would be beneficial, for other people to see what's happening, because right now I just feel everything is kind of closed or so, narrow. So I think this is a great opportunity. Even if, so that's my take.
All right, thanks, Carl. I think along with that, though, I would ask that Natalie put out something, and she sort of put something out to this effect already, but some kind of a meeting protocol on the when we do it by Zoom, how people react and interact and all that other kind of stuff. So I'm going to ask you, Natalie, to prepare a meeting protocol, a Zoom meeting protocol for the next meeting to be considered. Is that fair? Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. All right.
I'm good with it.
The next item has to do with on my list. Does anybody have any other items they want to bring up? I got a few more things on my list.
Go ahead.
I had that we need to do a better job of defining our responsibilities and goals in our positions, whatever responsibilities we have, whether it be a committee chair or an officer or whatever. So I think that's something that's really important. It's been alluded to earlier in the meeting, and I think it's something that we have a responsibility to do. So I don't know that we need to have a motion to this effect, but I think we need to have a task for everybody, committee chairs included, to define their responsibilities and establish goals. Any discussion of that?
I agree.
I agree, yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't think you need a vote on it though.
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's something, yes, we need to, what we probably need to do, for each board member, they should have some kind of, idea of what they're working on or want to work on, and able to create a report so we can have at the next board meeting at board meetings. And a matter of fact, since I'm going to take this little time here to plug in something here, we're working on a newsletter, and hopefully we can get it out by next month, the middle of next month. And we need content to share with the homeowners so they can know what's actually happening. I just feel that there's some kind of a cutoff, and we need to have something in place. So these items that each director would work at, like a little report or something, these would be good items to include in the newsletter as well. That's my take.
Okay, so are you trying to put a due date on that, Carl?
I'm looking to, if we can do that by the next board meeting, somebody, each of us come up with a item list of what they're going to work on and, priority.
Okay.
For each member, I think that would be a great start to move forward.
I'll work with you to get a tasker out to everybody on that.
Okay.
To make sure.
I have a question about your newsletter, Carl.
Yeah, go ahead.
You think it's a good idea to have board members' phone numbers on that newsletter? My wife brought that to my attention.
Well, the newsletter is not something we're going to be mailing out at. We're just going to send an e-blast and tell them the newsletter is online, so they log in and they can see the newsletter. That's where we're going to start it first. Are planning to. It's going to be the same if anyone log into Dwelling Live and look up the board members' email address, phone number, the same thing.
Yeah, I was just curious as to the fact that we're going to be getting phone calls at 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Those numbers are available on the website anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem with the phone numbers and the email addresses being in there. If it makes it handy for residents to find us and communicate with us, then it's fine with me.
Sure, it's fine with me too. If something is happening and they want to reach a board member quickly, it's available. And that's the whole idea. We need to be able to make ourselves available and able to if there's an issue, we can get to it quickly.
I can give you a good example of that. I had a resident contact me who had my contact information here a couple of weeks ago, and pointed out something that's going on the trail over by Pond C. So Carl and I went to look at it, and it's a huge sinkhole that's happening over there, and that was only brought to my attention because someone had my contact information. So I think that's valuable for people to be able to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's a good point.
Okay, and I don't think that takes a motion.
No.
One other. Oh man, it's all of a sudden starting to rain here where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pouring over here.
Yep, same thing here.
Last comment I'd like to, not the last, but getting to the last. Board members, I mean, being part of this board, it's a board. It's more a board of workers than it is a board of directors. We all have to do our share of the work and pitch into everybody else's work to the extent that they need help, and cooperate and graduate, I guess, is the theme. So rather than being sort of independent actors, we need to act more like team members, I think. Any comment on that? Carl, you want to say something about that?
Yeah, because, currently I feel that I am getting the blunt of the work, and I've been spending a lot of time with the board meeting, and not with this board meeting. That's the easiest part. But when you got to go out there and, at various times to meet different vendors and look at things and actually understand what needs to be done, it's time consuming. And we also need, workers. What I mean workers, somebody who will even actually go out and walk the property and look at it and see what's going on. I can remember the other day, Greg said the Brightview manager was on site, and I think I need to come and join the meeting. So I said, sure. I went and I joined the meeting. It took us 5 hours to walk this damn property. Okay, that's a lot of walking. When I get back, I was beat. I just went to bed. But point is that there's a lot of work here to do, and it's not easy. We have to understand some of the infrastructure and things like that, and what to look for to see what's happening. And it's going to take some knowledge as well, not just body. So that's what we need, workers. And we can't just sit there behind keyboard and just throw emails out and things like that. We actually need work to get done. Roll up your sleeve, get busy. I got to walk sometime down in the clubhouse, take a look, walk around the building, see what's going on, things like that. And it's not just me alone can do it. You have residents can do it too, you know, and feedback. Sometimes they might say, well, what's management company for? You know, they can't see everything. We walk the property. I see a lot because I walk. Okay. And I think that's the whole idea why we need to make sure board members play their fair share of doing, you know, some tasks. You know.
So I'll give you an example of something like that too. And I've talked to Carl about this. For the last 6 days, there has been a boot off of a palm tree, which is the remainder of a branch that has fallen off in the visitors lane just before you get to the guardhouse. And I've waited to see if that would get picked up, either by a guard or a Brightview person or a member of the board of directors or a resident, and nobody has picked it up. So if it's still there today, I'll go pick it up. But that's the kind of thing, we all are owners of this place. So we need to pitch in. And you don't have to be on a committee or have any formal responsibilities to be able to do stuff like that.
And
That's true.
in that regard too, what I would say is that relative to, rather than just communicate with Carl and dump anything on Carl, I think any communication to Carl should copy the other board members, and the other board members should be free to comment on it or ask or offer their assistance so that it doesn't all just fall to him to then dictate it out. So, you know, any communication within the board should, to me, include all the board members, and they should be free to comment on any issue.
Well, along those lines, Gary, I would like to relieve Carl from some of this. I would like to say that maybe it's best that we have someone other than Carl be the collection point for complaints to be tracked down and addressed. So if the subject is a complaint, then it goes to somebody to handle.
Greg, how about that? How about this, Greg? How about you take on that responsibility for all that goes to you?
Sure, I've done that before. In the Air Force, I was an inspector general, so I know how to handle those kinds of things. So it'll complicate my workload in the meantime, but hopefully it'll make me pay better attention to it.
Carl, you were the one that basically put that system in place, that everything had to go through you.
Yes, but when I put it in place, I expect it to be more productive, and I'm getting a lot of things that's not really productive, and that's what consumed time. Okay, so since Greg bring this point up, and I'll just throw it on him.
Okay, I don't think we need a motion for that, do we?
No, we don't need no vote for that. We just want to make sure we open communication amongst the board. Nobody should be isolated, and we keep open communication. If there's things need to be addressed at the board meeting, put it on the agenda item and bring it up. If you have something to bring it up at the meeting. That's when we're all together face to face, either on Zoom or in a physical place. But coming out the next day with a long list of things that could have been discussed in the board meeting is not kosher. If you have something to say it in the board meeting. If it's a complaint, I'll take it. That's fair. So I'm putting it on your plate.
Yep, that's fair.
Okay. I've exhausted my list of stuff. Does anybody have anything else?
I'm good.
Ken?
I'm good here. I'm good.
Gary? You said
I said I'm good.
Okay. Warren?
Fine.
Carl?
I'm good. I can't think of it.
Then
I'm good.
do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. The meeting is adjourned. Natalie will put out the minutes. Thanks everybody for joining.
You guys, I'll
Matter
put
of
out the
fact,
minutes. I'll put out the minutes after they're approved, after the next meeting.
Natalie,
Okay, yes.
how many people attend this board meeting?
There were, you should have asked me.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
A lot just logged off though.
12.
So I would say about like 25, 30.
Yeah,
It was a lot.
There's still like 13 or so.
That's more than what we have at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Look, historically, from a management perspective, we've seen much more attendance when you do it on Zoom. Just because people,
It's easy.
they don't like to leave their house. So it's easier to just log on. Like you could just be sitting at home, and even people that don't typically go to board meetings, they'll just be sitting, oh, hey, there's a board meeting tonight. Log in, let's see, get some popcorn. But it gets more people to attend because it's easier to attend. So
Hi, Natalie. I have
I guess we'll see how it
stuff
goes.
at the same time.
I have a 2-second question for you, Natalie, regarding Zoom.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you muted everybody. The people that you muted, are they allowed to unmute themselves?
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to.
I don't know. I was just asking you because I thought I heard you say earlier that you muted somebody and they couldn't.
I had to
themselves.
mute, the few people that were, there was feedback. So I was like, can you guys mute? Can you mute? Can you mute? Nobody muted. So I had to mute.
No, I understand I think it's fine that you mute. I just wanted to make sure that people can unmute themselves if you mute them, because if they can't unmute themselves, then they have.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it because I know there was a couple people that spoke up that I had muted that were able to unmute themselves, but then at the beginning Warren couldn't unmute himself. So that's a little kinks that we'll have to work out and make sure that we know.
Well, and then part of that is going to be the meeting protocol.
Right.
You don't want people jumping in the middle of things either. So.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that people had the ability to speak if they wanted to.
Right, if they want to speak, exactly.
At the appropriate time, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that'll be a kink that we'll have to work out one way or the other. It's really easy when everybody logs in online with a link, because you can send in a chat message, you can raise your hand, it's a lot easier that way. So when I put this thing out, I'm going to say that's the recommended way to log on is online. But if you call in, then I have to figure out how to do it. Maybe just try to get everybody, please mute yourself, because once I mute you, I'm not sure if that person's going to be able to unmute again. So, or maybe just I can go ahead and unmute everybody during the open forum and then mute them back after. So we'll figure it out. We'll definitely ensure that everybody has their chance to speak and that everybody is heard, whether it's Zoom or in person. So
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, I joined the meeting here and all I could do was listen because the main topics y'all want to discuss were presented after we were given a chance to speak. Would have liked to heard what the topics were, then have a discussion. It was seen backwards where we couldn't chime in because y'all did what y'all want to do, and then we're just forced to sit here and listen to whatever you guys are doing. Really, you didn't need us at all.
Well, actually, sir, you actually attended late. I
did not attend late. No, I did not attend late.
Okay, I let you into the meeting myself. And unfortunately, it was after.
I wasn't late. I was on 2 devices.
Right, it was after the meeting started. So at the beginning of the meeting,
I heard you. You gave us 3 minutes to say what we wanted to say or bring up an issue of which we had no idea what the issues are to speak
right, they were on the agenda.
Well, you could have presented them again first before you gave us the 3 minutes to speak.
Well, the agenda was posted at the clubhouse and also emailed to everybody.
I understand that, but at the start of this meeting, it'll take you 2 minutes to go over what the agenda is and then give us the 3 minutes to speak if we want to speak on it. It's not
we'll
that
take
hard.
That into consideration. Thank you.
I think we did read that.
Yeah. But you know what we probably need to do?
Carl read it.
I read it the first time. I read it out when I started the meeting. But what we can do to improve this is to put a split screen where the agenda item is also up. That for is attending online, they can see the agenda as well.
Yeah,
How
and
about that?
I posted the bullets right there in the chat, and they're pretty broad strokes. And whether that's intentional or not, there was no agenda item that says we're gonna vote to remove, so and so, or vote to do this, or vote to do that. It just says
That would be
modify
organization
organization
of
of the.
officers.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean,
organization of officers.
I don't know how we're supposed to understand what that means. So yeah, I agree that it would be good to have an opportunity, maybe at the end or intermittently, to, as individual items are brought up. I can say, hey, we're
We
going to have
will
a
take
board
all
meeting
of
that we're
into
going to.
consideration. We will take all of it into consideration. This board meeting was held at the last minute. As you know, if you do attend board meetings, we have them every month. The agenda items are very, very clear. This was maybe a little bit more broad because the board had a lot of different things to discuss, but each point was mentioned on the agenda of what was going to happen. But, we'll definitely take that into consideration. And, moving forward, I think since we're doing it online, we can post the agenda for those that are online. The agenda will be posted. Somebody can share their screen and the agenda will be there. And, we'll make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Well, I think his complaint is chiefly the degree of specificity in the agenda items.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how we were supposed to understand what they were just by reading one sentence.
That's all. That's a kind of a. It depends on circumstances. I think everything that we talked about fits into what was described in the agenda.
Yeah, and you could make it even more general. You could say everything we talked about fits into a general board meeting. It's just, it doesn't give people enough context to comment at the appropriate time.
Correct. Well, we'll talk about ways to make that better.
Yeah,
thank you.
We definitely, because we did have a system set up when we were going to be in the clubhouse, but now we're going to be online. So yes, that need to be straight.
Online until the internet is fixed, correct?
Huh?
Online until the internet is fixed?
No.
Next two meetings will be online.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got one more question when you got us through.
Sure.
My question concerning the reposition of the member that was moved from vice president back to the director position. Is that because of failure of his work performance, or what was it that we move him down sideways? Is it his work performance? I mean, was he not doing his job or something?
He was moved without cause. The DCCRs allow for being removed from an officer position with or without cause. So he was moved without cause.
Okay, so any two members could call for a meeting and then remove a person without cause. Is that how it works?
No, it takes three members to remove a person from a position.
No, I'm saying, but it took two people to call the meeting. So any two persons can call a meeting?
Two people can call a meeting. That's two directors can call a meeting. That's correct.
So you do not need a majority in that decision?
No.
To call a meeting, no.
Okay.
You need a majority to remove anybody, but you do not need a majority to call a meeting. You just need two directors.
So all four of you guys that voted to remove that member, the member was removed. There was no issue with the member. It just, y'all got tired of seeing him.
He was removed without cause.
What does that mean? There has to be a cause for somebody to be moved.
No.
You just don't want to say what the cause is.
The DCCRs allow a member to be moved with or without cause. So we moved him without cause.
So the next meeting, who's next to be removed without cause at the next meeting?
Who knows?
Well, I'm trying to find out. So next meeting, I know whether I should be here or not be here.
I don't know. It can be brought up anytime.
That makes no sense. How do we keep continuity? How do we keep continuity if we're going to remove people without cause if they've been voted in by the board or whatever?
Well, that was taken into account when those rules were put down.
So it's going to be musical vice president and next is president, probably?
Maybe. Who knows?
Okay, Craig. I can see where we're going with this. You have a wonderful day, sir.
You as well. Thanks.
I'll be sarcastic.
All right. Well, listen up. Appreciate everybody. Stay dry.
Okay.
All right, everybody. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.